Good morning, friends. Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. I am a retired New York City police detective with over 20 years of law enforcement experience. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon. And now he's back on U.S. soil, and Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. And today we're going to talk about the University of Idaho, the 4 students, the tragedy that took place almost a week ago, the early morning hours of Saturday night into Sunday morning, the 13th. These 4 innocent victims' lives were cut short. We're going to get into the forensic side of it now. Guys, like I said, tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ed Wallace and I got to give him a time to adjust from time 6 hours ahead in Africa to New York time. 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, Ed Wallace and I will be going live. But I want to say a special thank you to you, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, the folks who positively engage, the subscribers, the guys and girls who leave comments down below. You're what makes this a great place. And I give thanks and praise to each and every one of you. So I say thank you, thank you, thank you, as I do in every live event that I do. Hey, I wanted to show you quickly some of the overview, some of the local reports. There's some great reporting going on down in the Moscow, Idaho area. But, you know, the Moscow police, small police department, they haven't seen a murder since 2015. They're not really equipped for this. So they've asked and reached out for help from not only the state, but the federal partners. The FBI, the profiling team are down there. There's just so much going on. But I wanted to just play quickly for you before I come back and say hello to everybody. So thank you to everyone that's here in the chat. But let's just play this local piece because like I said, the boots on the ground reporters are doing a great job with keeping us updated, even though I don't know if you, like me, feel the same way. There's so much mixed information here, and misinformation and mixed information, not only coming from the police, but coming from our internet detectives. It helps to create confusion. And we see that as a common thread in a lot of these cases where there's not a lot of information being put out by the police. It's not anybody's fault. It's because we're only left with speculation, right? Who did it? Was it the guy at the food truck? Was it friends of Xana and Ethan? Was it at the sorority or frat house or, location where they were? And there's so much time in between. Let's take a listen to what the reporters have to say. This is a pretty good piece.
Let's get right to some breaking news on the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. Moscow police now say the murders happened while the victims were most likely asleep. Crime 2's Kyle Simchuk is joining us now live in the studio tonight. And Kyle, what can you tell us at this hour?
Well, Cody, Moscow police just put out new information. They still don't have a suspect, but they have started to rule some people out. Tonight, authorities are also dispelling some rumors being shared online.
New details are emerging in the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. Tonight, the Latah County coroner says the 4 students were likely asleep. Some had defensive wounds, and each victim was stabbed multiple times. Authorities found no sign of sexual assault. Moscow police say at this point in the investigation, they do not believe the 2 surviving roommates or the man seen standing near a local food truck were involved in the murders. Police also addressed rumors swirling online claiming the victims were gagged and tied, saying those are not accurate, and the identity of the 911 caller has not been released. Detectives say they've received nearly 500 tips, which are being processed, investigated, and cleared. 38 people who may have information about the murders have been interviewed. The whereabouts of the killer and the knife used are still unknown. Detectives seized the contents of 3 dumpsters on King Road to look for evidence. Police have also gone to local businesses to see if anyone recently purchased a fixed blade knife. Anyone who saw something suspicious, has video surveillance, or can provide relevant information about the murders is asked to call the Moscow Police Department.
And a lot of resources have been put on this case. 128 members of law enforcement, including 46 FBI investigators, all on the ground in Moscow trying to figure out who did this and why. Cody.
Kyle, thank you so much. And tonight we're getting more perspective on this high-profile case from a man who spent decades working alongside the FBI. Chris Bertram's an associate professor of criminal justice and says the fact a knife was used is unique given the fact mass killings usually involve a gun. He says detectives will have to examine where the victims were stabbed and whether the attack was an overkill. On top of looking into the victims and what was going on in their lives leading up to the murder, Bertram says police are likely focusing on the people they knew.
Somebody that saw them, somebody that went to school with them, somebody that associated with them in the community or at work or in some type of endeavor, and they became fixated on them. And we have to look at that. Or, as in some cases we look with school shootings, was this based on peer rejection or social rejection?
Bertram says police may also be asking around to see if anyone close to the victims had a fascination with knives. Now, in other new developments tonight, the Idaho State Police released a map roughly outlining where the students were late Saturday night going into early Sunday morning. At this hour, they're hoping it'll help the public remember any information that will prove helpful in this investigation. Crime 2's Amanda Rowley has been in Moscow tracking this story all week long, as she's joining us from the crime scene tonight with that newly released timeline and map.
Investigators are still trying to piece together where the 4 University of Idaho students went the night before they were found in their Moscow home, stabbed to death. Investigators are hoping the map released today will provide additional tips from the community.
The map details the night of Saturday, November 12th into the...
I want to stop it here, folks, because I just put in the chat. I feel like they're putting out to the public that the person in the video at the food truck has been cleared. As an investigator and as someone who's conducted many different investigations and been around many homicide investigations, I know that sometimes people get cleared and then they get uncleared. So I have strong feelings about the mannerisms and movements just based on my spidey sense and my investigative sense. Clearing that kid is all good and well, but the way he acted on that video, and we're going to take a look at that, there was something. He was shadowing them, and again, they're putting out that he's been cleared, but in my mind, I don't think he'll ever be cleared. But I feel certainly that this Jack person, that 7 different attempts to communicate with him right around the 3 a.m. time, 2:50, I believe it was 2:52, the messages started and the communication started from Kaylee and Madison to this unknown Jack. I want to know more about Jack, but this shows you a great time lapse of the movements of Ethan and Kaylee and Maddie, Xana, the Sigma party that they were at, and then at the residence at 1:45. So those electronic and forensics, computer forensics, the forensics from at the scene. If I'm an investigator, I want the food truck guy's DNA. I want him to, whether he has to get an attorney or not, I want him to legally submit his DNA to us. If you are innocent and didn't have anything to do with this, I want your DNA. I want to be able to match it up. So thank you to my Twitch crew. I'm broadcasting live on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and here on YouTube. Thank you, Nothing But Love, for the super love. Nothing But Love comes in with $100 and says, sending love and many thanks for all that you do. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Wow. Very generous. Thank you. Nothing But Love. Right back at you. All right, let's let the rest of this play.
Early hours of Sunday, November 13th. It highlights locations and approximate times when Kaylee Goncalves.
The community.
The map details the night of Saturday, November 12th into the early hours of Sunday, November 13th. It highlights locations and approximate times when Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen were in downtown Moscow, while Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were at the Sigma Chi house. Investigators believe Madison and Kaylee were at the Corner Club on Saturday from 8 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Sunday. Then they were at the Grub Truck on Main Street at 1:40 a.m. 5 minutes later, the map says they returned to their home on King Road. I drove that route this afternoon, starting at 4.
Now, this is important. I don't know how many of you have seen this. By a show of hands in the chat, how many of you have seen this local reporter from Krem 2 take this ride? This is important. This is what investigators do. This is what the police, local police, the state and federal partners, this is what we do. So this was brilliant that she went ahead and did this and took that ride along the route. Granted, this ride was taken in the early morning hours of Sunday morning, the 13th, but this gives you a good indicator of how long this takes, this route. So let's let it play, and she has a timer on it. So I'm going to put it back so you guys can see it.
Home on King Road. I drove that route this afternoon, starting at 4th and Main and ending at the King Road home. With some light traffic on the road, I arrived at the house in about 3 minutes. This suggests it's reasonable to believe Madison and Kaylee traveled by car from the food truck, but that detail has not been confirmed by police. Investigators also say Ethan and Xana were at a party at Sigma Chi from 8 to 9 p.m., then returned to the home on King Road at 1:45 a.m. The fraternity is a short 3-minute walk from the house, but still, there is a 5-hour gap on their location between the party and arriving at home. Investigators hope someone might remember being at or near the locations they've identified around the same time and potentially saw something suspicious or relevant to the investigation. Police are asking those people to call the tip line or email with that information.
This is all good information, but it brings up even more questions, such as, did investigators use the students' cell phones to identify the locations and times on this map? Did Madison and Kaylee walk or drive or get a ride back to the home? And did Xana and Ethan spend only 1 hour at the Sigma Chi fraternity? I have several calls into Idaho State Police and other local authorities working this investigation. I have not heard back, but we will continue to press for answers as this story develops. Reporting in Moscow, Amanda Rowley, Krem 2.
Great job on that, Amanda. You know, I've been watching that local news outlet. The news affiliate there is really on top of this. Again, there hasn't been a murder in that area since 2015. So the police, the local police, are not investigating murders on a regular basis there. I mean, that's a long period of time. But she really went over a lot of data there, and I appreciate these local reports, and that's why I look at them because it gives you the best sense of what's going on there. And this is the crime scene. I'll put it back up on the I'll put this back up on the screen. But this is the crime scene. This is the front door right behind her, and then around back is the sliding glass door that everyone speaks about as a possible entrance of the perpetrator. Thank you, Dr. Ed and Julie, for the super chat. He and she says, I'm so glad law enforcement requested help. Moscow is 30 minutes from Washington State University. Thank you, DutyRon. You know, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about, right? Thank you so much for that super chat. I wanted to talk about the coroner. And we're going to play a piece from the coroner, but Barbara Butcher, the New York City medical examiner, retired chief of staff, retired from the New York City medical examiner's office. Her and I have been communicating, and she's going to come on next week with us. I think early next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday next week. And she had told me, and these are her words, that the coroner who responded, the coroner is a nurse, a registered nurse. So she did not conduct this autopsy. As you know, they jobbed it out to, I believe, another state handled it. I think it was Washington State or maybe Oregon coroner's office. I have the notes on it. We're going to go into it with Barbara. But I mean, I'll look at her texts and the text that she sent me and the conversation that we had was like, again, this is just concerning for me. Coroner Kathy Mabut is a nurse and also graduated law school. She's never seen a stabbing death before. She sent the bodies to Spokane, Washington. All right, I was right the first time, for the autopsy, and a forensic pathologist looked at it. These are Barbara's words. All killed in bed, allegedly, likely intoxicated and sleeping heavily through, though from what one of the fathers said, his daughter may have awoken and tried to fight off the perpetrator or perpetrators. Again, remember, we don't know if it was one or more. We don't know if it was one or multiple. Thank you, Dr. Ed and Julie, for the super love. Appreciate that. So let me let the rest of this play.
News.
Amanda, thank you so much. And just into our newsroom, Moscow police said Maddie and Kaylee took an Uber home from the food truck. We don't know if police have spoken with the driver.
Here's where
in the meantime, as we continue to look ahead.
This is where confusion comes in, right? Hey, by a show of hands here in the chat, how many of you folks heard the report last night that they took a private vehicle home? This is, again, from last night. This was a 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock news report. Yeah, it was the 6 o'clock news report, according to this. You can see it on the timestamp here. So 6 o'clock Idaho time. Overnight and into the morning, I heard that it was confirmed that the girls took private means. I heard Uber here, and then I heard private means. And this is what brings me full circle back to misinformation and how confusing it gets for people online that talk about this, because the mixed signals that are being sent out from the different reporting agencies, right? So is it an Uber or is it a private means ride? So it's confusing. So everybody is scratching their heads. I want to play a piece again. This is from Court TV. Joseph Scott Mogen, our good friend, he does exactly what Barbara Butcher does. He is, in the medical examiner's field. He's a great resource. But I want to just play quickly a little piece from Court TV. I can't play it all because it's 24 minutes. But I want our friend Vinny Politan. Let's hear what he has to say. And this was just last night. He's got a good panel on here. Let's take a listen to this.
Getting their lives together, getting ready for the rest of their lives. And now we've got a quadruple murder. And tonight, looking at that bloody crime scene, everyone is wondering what happened. What happened inside that home? How do 4 people get stabbed to death? How? And then the other question, why?
Maybe, Ava.
But in order to answer that, you got to figure out who. Who is responsible? Who did it? Because no arrest tells me there is a mass murderer walking around tonight. And for those families of the 4 victims, this is just, your kids go away to college and, they're there to get ready for the rest of their lives, not to end their lives. 2 nights in a row, or 2 nights this week, we're talking about this. This is outrageous. But let's figure out what we know so far. The police department out in Moscow, Idaho, spoke, gave us some information. Let's take a listen.
The Moscow Police Department would like to extend our condolences to all family members, friends, the University of Idaho, and the Moscow community. This was a horrible crime that took the lives of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Goncalves. This horrible crime has affected all of us,
Thank you,
the
Nancy.
families, the University of Idaho, our community, our country, and our officers. Agencies that are involved in this task force include Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. As we continue our investigation, we have learned that Ethan and Xana were at a party on campus, and Madison and Kaylee were at a downtown bar. They arrived home sometime after 1:45. If anyone in our community or across our nation has any information about these times or the victim's whereabouts, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. The facts of the case that we know right now. We know that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Around noon, Moscow officers received a call of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Goncalves inside the residence on King Road. The four were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time. There was no sign of forced entry into the residence. Investigators are continuing to collect evidence at the scene. Investigators are working to develop a timeline to relevant events. Autopsies are taking place today on all the victims so we can continue to gather evidence and solve the crime. Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details of the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times. What we don't know, the identity and location of the suspect, the location of the knife or any clothing that was worn by the suspect. Currently, we have 25 plus investigators working this case, as well as assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Idaho State Police.
Let's bring in our special guest joining me tonight from Boise, Idaho, investigative reporter with the Idaho Statesman, Kevin Fixler is with us. Kevin, appreciate your time tonight. I know you're super busy out there covering this story. We've got limited information tonight. What do we know about the actual scene? The who was there? The timeline, and what exactly could have happened here? What are you learning? What are people saying?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing we really learned from the press conference tonight is that there's really a lot that we don't know. And it's not only the public, but it's also police and the FBI who are assisting on the case. We learned tonight, among the details, that there were other roommates who actually were at the home at the time of the incident. We had previously learned from the mayor of Moscow that the incident occurred between roughly 3 and 4 a.m. And also tonight we learned, you saw in that clip.
Now, I want to just stop it for a second here. And the reason the police are now and investigators are now estimating 3 and 4 a.m. is because those 6 phone calls and or text messages to a person named Jack, last call at 2:52 a.m. That is the reason that they are using the time frame of between 3 and 4 a.m. Okay, the FBI behavioral unit and the profiling unit is on scene, and they are doing what they need to do in this case. So at 2:26, Kaylee starts to call a person named Jack, a young man. Kaylee calls him 6 times 2:26 to 2:44 a.m. And then from 2:44 to 2:52, Maddie calls Jack 3 times. Then Kaylee calls Jack one final time at 2:52 a.m. Hence the estimated time of death, 3 to 4 a.m. Just wanted to be clear on that.
That the two separate parties of two, the boyfriend and girlfriend, and also the two young women, were at separate events. And then
they have not released the guy's name in the hoodie. I just want to put myself back on. This is where the confusion comes in, folks. And listen, there is good reason that they're not putting out certain information. Investigations have to be tight. They have to keep stuff close to the vest. But the bottom line is the reason why all of this stuff is all over the place is because they're putting it out in dribs and drabs and they're not really being specific. So the guy in the hoodie, no name on him. I know that on the internet, the heavier set guy that was talking to the guy in the hoodie, we're going to look at that whole, I have 10 minutes that Josh was able to edit. I have a 10-minute clip that we're going to play in this stream, and we'll also play it tonight on the 9 o'clock show. But there was an engagement of conversation between the heavier set guy that was at the food truck and the hoodie guy. And he said that he had to go in person to the police station because he tried to reach out to them on the phone and they never called him back. Now, I know that they're busy with this investigation, but if you have a witness that was at that location that wants to talk to you, you should get back to him. So let's play the rest of this. This is a lot of good information here. This is just overnight.
Arrived back to the home about 1:45 is what police estimate. We also learned that there is no suspect at this point. We have learned that it is specifically a knife that the police are looking for. But that follows a day after where police would only divulge that they were looking for some sort of edged weapon was the terminology used. So still a lot of details we still really don't know, and police are asking the community for help.
How about the campus tonight? Are people terrified? Are people scared? Are people locking their doors? Or are they leaving town?
Of course they are.
I have a colleague up there, Angela Palermo, who's been reporting over the last few days, and she's described that a lot of people are getting out of town. We're obviously headed into the Thanksgiving break, and a lot of classes have been canceled. Tonight was supposed to be the scheduled vigil at the campus, but that actually was postponed due to the university recognizing that many were not in attendance. They would not be in attendance because they're out of town. Many people are scared. Not only us, but many news outlets have interviewed those who are still in the community, and they're very concerned.
Is there, we look at the people involved here, they're regular college students. And I read what the president released about him, saying, the young man, Ethan, he's a freshman, a junior, 2 seniors. Was there anything unusual going on in their lives at the school? Anything other than just living their normal college lives?
We previously asked police if any of these 4 individuals were known to them for any particular reason, and they did not give us any sort of indication that they were. So we actually still don't have a lot of information about that, whether or not they had run into somebody maybe at these individual parties or had beef with someone in the neighborhood, or maybe they were followed home. There was a question posed at the press conference about whether police were reviewing social media, any sort of video, or any other research they're doing in order to determine, who would have this in mind, who would have planned this. Was this a random attack? Although police say they believe it was isolated and targeted, and yet have not really provided any sort of justification about that, and why the community should feel safe tonight.
And the area where their home is versus the campus versus where they were at the party, where they were at the bar? Do we know if they were walking back or driving back or Ubering back? Was there any indication one way or the other, just in terms of the movement that night and how they arrived back home and how far away they were?
Police tonight actually did not speak to that during the press conference. And I should note that this is day 4 of this investigation. The police chief did acknowledge that perhaps he should have had this press conference a day or two ago, because many in the community, including the student body, have called.
Hamilton_Bone on Twitch says the house had a keypad lock that many people knew, apparently, the code. That's accurate information, Hamilton Bone. Thank you for that comment on Twitch. You know something? Security, as I typed in the comments section here, security and safety is not taught and not pushed hard enough to our younger generation. Now, of course, my kids, my 2 boys, they know, you know, you lock the doors, you lock your windows, you lock your car when you get into it, because their father's a retired New York City cop, right? But it doesn't mean that we can't teach this even as grandparents to our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, our own children. Hey, are you teaching your kids about this safety? And it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, but it's an important one, right? Nobody should have combinations to anybody's lock. Nobody should be able to gain access to their private dwelling. Your house is supposed to be your temple where you can go to and be safe. And in this case, as you can see from this photo here, I'm going to put it back up on the screen. This is a picture of the block, the actual area that leads up to this crime scene. And there's multiple dwellings here. There's multiple kids in all of these houses all around. This is college off campus, which the campus is close by, you know, and it's something that you need to have. This is a conversation that needs to be had. This is a in-your-face, you know, strong reminder that crime knows no boundaries. You know, crime knows no boundaries. Cat Mama, thank you for the $5 super chat. She says, I've been coming to your channel for a couple of days now, and I really enjoy the content. I'm a New Yorker myself. Keep up the great work. Cat Mama, thank you so much. And thank you for subscribing. You know, safety is important, you know, and you need to be, you know, hyper aware. You need to have your peripheral vision at all times, and you need to be paying attention. Let's let the rest of this play because I want to hear what Joseph Scott Morgan has to say. He comes up next.
For more information, more transparency about the situation. But as police said, they're trying actually still to piece together a timeline about the movements, and they did not speak specifically about whether or not the couple and the other 2 girls were in a car, whether they walked back. There was that video shown outside of a food truck, but it's not clear how they got home after that.
All right, we're going to get to that food truck video in our next segment, but Kevin Fixler's still with us. Let's bring in the rest of our guests. Joining me tonight in Jacksonville, Alabama, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, former senior investigator for the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, and the host of the very popular Body Bags podcast. Joseph Scott Morgan is with us. In Los Angeles, California, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon, and in Chicago, Illinois, private investigator Erica Morse. Joseph Scott Morgan, let me start with you. There's a lot of questions I have for everyone tonight, but I want to start here. How do 4 people get murdered with some sort of knife or edged instrument? To me, 4 people, does that mean we're looking for more than one suspect? And what would this crime scene indicate that it was isolated and targeted?
Yeah, you know, first blush, I thought, you know, when I first heard this crime come up, I was thinking, how in the world do you corral 4 people with merely a knife, unless you have perhaps someone else that may have been assisting in controlling?
Or this perpetrator, if he acted solo, could have had a gun as well. You know, investigators and people that are following this, they don't think, or let me just know in the chat, how many of you feel that this person could have been armed with a knife and a gun? I have taken people down who have multiple weapons on them, sometimes 2 guns, sometimes 2 and 3 knives. What if this guy had a gun and held him at gunpoint and said, hey, if you do what I tell you, no one's going to get hurt. And then quickly, one by one, choom, choom. It's possible. So think about it. This perp could have had a gun as well. And nobody's mentioning it here.
The individuals, or first blush, I thought, when I first heard this crime come up, I was thinking, how in the world do you corral 4 people with merely a knife, unless you have perhaps someone else that may have been assisting in controlling the individuals, or was somebody kind of hidden away in the residence and waited for them to return so that they could take them out systematically. The crime scene itself is going to reveal quite a bit. As stated earlier, there is what appears to be, and what I have heard at least, be a copious amount of blood. And when you have this much blood evidence, it is almost impossible for the perpetrator, particularly when you're talking about an edged weapon. Remember, police chief said just a moment ago, he did confirm something. They'd only said edged weapon was used, but he did in fact say that these victims were stabbed. This is not a cutting event. This is actually stabbing. You cannot get out of that environment with so much blood that it does not course over onto the perpetrator's clothing, their hands, their face, and potentially their shoes. I'm really wondering if maybe they have some shoe prints inside of the house, because this would in fact be a horrible scene and very complicated to work. We still don't know about the placement or distribution of the bodies in the residence. All we know is, I think they said that the male was separate in an earlier report from the females, but we don't know about specific distribution, distance, all of that sort of thing. And also, was there any signs of struggle inside of the residence?
Bobby Chacon, we heard Moscow police talk about the number of people who are part of this investigation, including the FBI. So how is that going to change things now? The FBI is involved here. What will their role be in all of this?
Well, several fold, actually. They probably have forensic people on scene analyzing that crime scene. Like the doc said, they can gain a lot of information on the perpetrators from the crime scene. So our evidence response team unit can lend assistance there. They could have the profiling unit involved already out of Quantico. Just manpower in general. They probably have the social media task force that the FBI runs, scouring. Their social media has probably been completely scoured by now. They're looking at who likes their photos, who makes comments, things like that, and what times those likes came in. So all of that is being worked through their social media. I'm sure that with a fine-tooth comb, their social media is being looked at, and probably has already. So there's on multiple fronts, the FBI is probably aiding and assisting.
All right. Joseph Scott Morgan, Bobby Chacon, Erica Moore staying with us. Kevin Fixler, appreciate your time, your insight tonight. We're going to be calling you a lot. I hope you can come back on and keep us updated as to what's happening out there in Idaho. As I said, we've got more on this coming up. In the meantime, coming up next hour.
So why could this have happened now? It's a ton, and we'll continue to follow up.
Other than that, I mean, I don't see anything that jumps out. We don't.
And we've shortened it to a certain extent, but you see Madison and Kaylee, there they are arriving at the food truck. Anything significant in this initial video that you notice?
Does look over, notices the girls. They are cute girls. Other than that, I mean, I don't see anything that jumps out. We don't have a lot to work with at this point. They seem to be by themselves, and other people surrounding them seem to be a little bit more gregarious, like maybe they know each other.
Yeah, and I'd be very curious as to how close they are to home and how they got from this food truck back to the house where they ended up.
I'm going to stop it there. Marlena Cantu sends in the $10 super chat, and she says, it's possible the suspect cut or hurt himself during the attacks and left his own DNA. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very possible. KNS, thank you for the super sticker. You know, there's so many great questions in the chat. You guys are the cyber sleuths, and the people who are, you know, at home detectives are freaking phenomenal, because it leads to a lot of open conversation. And, you know, these think tanks on Twitter Spaces and the think tanks on the Reddit, the threads and feeds and all these different posts are what keeps this thing, this keeps conversation going. But it also helps because the law and the people who are investigating it need tips. I think DNA is going to play a huge role here, and every single interaction. These girls are so active, were so active on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not sure about Twitter, but I'm sure they were on TikTok and so forth. I only looked at their Instagrams. I didn't go to TikTok and look at their stuff, but this is what the job of the investigators are. They need to go and look at every social media footprint, every interaction, not just with their classmates, because this thing can go so far and wide. They could have had interactions or bump-ins with somebody months ago. This could have been something far in the past that trickled down to this day of this crime. So this investigation is going to take so much, and it's going to take some luck and some smarts by a crack investigator or an investigative team that'll put the pieces of the puzzle together. But the online forensic social media footprint, their emails, their text messages, you see the girls here doing videos as they're leaving and posting them in various places, the subpoenas to get all of this stuff. I have, you know, many thoughts on this thing. I feel that inside that club that they were in, where they went locally on a regular basis, there could have been an interaction, not just that night. It could have been in the past. This could be a trickle effect. It could be somebody within the university that was looking at their Instagram and Facebook and various so forth social media posts and got infatuated with one or more of these girls. So we don't know. And thank you, Dogs with Jobs and Jody and Aunt BB2 and Black Rose 11 and all the great people, the Mod Squad. Iris Hewlett's here, and I see BB, Jennifer Kornman. Thank you, everybody. Cherry Hill, Rocky Mountain, me. I saw Rocky Pastorino earlier. The folks that are checking in on Twitch, make sure if you're not yet subscribed to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, hit the red subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, all social media, one word. I made it easy, DutyRon. There's our favorite criminal defense attorney, Joe Murray. Thank you, Joe, for being here. And if Joe's here, that means his better half, Ange, is in the chat, looming as one of the great moderators. Lieutenant Pete Pranzo is here as well. Quinny, Destiny 22, Beamer 650, Loco Moco. I mean, I could go on with this all day long, but let's get back to this because this is the food truck. I have the 10-minute video. I'm going to play the whole thing. It's going to show all these different angles, but let's take a peek at this with Vinny. He talks a little bit about some of the possibilities about the travel home. So let's take a look at this.
Getting murdered, you know, several hours later. Let's take a look now. You mentioned the guy with the cap. Let's watch the next part of the video where they seem to interact with him a little bit. Let's watch that part. Do we have that second video? Oh, this is the second video. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
What I like about this is even pros like Vinny Politan fumbles. This comes courtesy of Grub Truckers Twitch channel, and shout out to Grub Truckers Twitch, because if he didn't have this Twitch channel and was live streaming on a regular basis, we wouldn't have this video. And this is arguably, this is the last on-camera sighting that we know of the public. This doesn't mean that other businesses in the background have angles of her or where they walked off to, whether the car was down the street, car that they got into was right there. We don't know, but there could be other video and I'm going to bring myself back on because it's important that we all understand this. This is what we're seeing, right? This is what we're being fed through the media, through the police department, through social media and so forth. But all of these businesses in the background, they may have cameras that are having different angles and different situations. And there could be lots of other things like DOT cameras. Maybe they made a stop. Maybe they made a stop, a quick stop, or anything is possible. So let's let the rest of this play.
All right, it seems to me, though, Erica, everyone that's in this video is a potential witness.
Yes, absolutely. You have to, one of the reasons they have 25 investigators on this case is because they're running 5 separate investigations. They're running the primary investigation and then 4 separate investigations on victimology of each individual victim. Every person in that food truck area is a witness. Every person in their life, in their orbit right now, is a person of interest until they are ruled in or ruled out. Yes, you definitely have to start here because this took place within a few hours of the crime. I'm also very concerned about the fact that there was no forced entry. Was there somebody that they knew that showed up, or did someone follow them directly home and force their way in while the door was open?
And again, in this part, we see the guy who was standing by him before. There you see the girls, they kind of are looking that direction. They probably waiting for their food, getting their food.
Mm-hmm.
And let's get to that final video.
This is where she's doing like some kind of
they're
post.
taking selfies. I mean, there's nothing unusual going.
There's no selfie there. She's filming her friend as she's getting her food and maybe posting that somewhere, or maybe it's just left on their phone. If anybody knows, or if this video here in itself is posted, I mean, the investigators would be looking at it, but to me, that doesn't look like a selfie. That looks like her laughing and making fun of her friend, getting the food, munching out at 1:45. She waited all that time for her food. And this, to me, is her, like, you know, making a funny video, possibly posting it or possibly putting it up onto TikTok or one of the various posts. Thank you, Randy. Hey, Randy Horton from Saudi Arabia is in Twitch. He invited all his friends. Looks like he's taking off. Thank you, Randy Horton, Randy W. Horton on Twitch. Thank you for inviting the crew over. Appreciate it, Randy. Always great to see my friend over he's originally from Tennessee, now living in Saudi Arabia. And thank you, Rand.
They're taking selfies. I mean, there's nothing unusual going on.
She's laughing at her.
Nothing.
She's laughing, getting her food, and now she follows.
Not out of the ordinary that jumps out. It is.
Now, this guy pointed at him as they're walking away. The way I take that is a couple of guys see a couple of cute girls, and all of a sudden they're gone. But let's watch him walk.
Yeah, he points at him
in a seemingly different direction away from the girl.
Now, you know, some of my friends sent me this video and said that this guy could have gotten in his car and followed him home and been the murderer. I mean, police said that they cleared him. You know, let me know down below in the comment section, or let me know in the live chat. What do you think? I mean, I know that police said he's been cleared and interviewed, but again, this activity, if it's not strange enough, like for me, when I initially saw it, it really put up some, you know, I mean, he could be waving to him, he could be pointing at him, but the way his body language was here, it was like he was definitely either ghosting him, like, or, I mean, you know, following them around each place that they were moving, he moved to. Was he a protector? If in fact he was a protector and he had a car and he was going to his car, why didn't they go with him? Or if in fact he was that concerned about their safety, why didn't he leave with them? This is just all, for me, odd as an investigator. I think it's odd. Let me know what you think. I'm open to anybody's thoughts. I'm not saying that he's the one. I'm just saying that this to me is, you know, for face value is kind of things that make you go,
Out of the ordinary that jumps out. It is.
Now, this guy pointed at him as they're walking away. The way I take that is a couple of guys see a couple of cute girls and all of a sudden they're gone. But
Did anybody catch the way we can analyze this crazy over and over, but the way he looked to the left when the guy said, "Oh, the girls are going," he doesn't go right away. He looks to the left and then goes to the right.
It's
Out
so
of the ordinary
typical.
that jumps out. It is.
Now, this guy pointed at him as they're walking away. The way I take that is a couple of guys see a couple of cute girls and all of a sudden they're gone. But let's watch him walk.
And he didn't get food.
In a seemingly different direction away from the girls. But
he's stepping pretty good.
Maybe he was
pretty quick.
Like any young man. I don't know. Bobby Chacon, you see anything in the video of significance?
Well, I mean, just that young man that you're highlighting there, he could have been walking to his car that was, to the right, and they crossed the street to the left. Like you said, you really want to know how they got home. He puts his hand up like, "Oh, there they go," and so and he immediately leaves.
Another person I'm looking at some of my emails said that when he looked to the left, could have been looking to somebody that was with him that helped him. Like, I'm talking these messages that I'm looking at came in last week during the week. This happened a week ago tomorrow, Sunday, Saturday night into Sunday. But this email came into me on Tuesday, and it said, "DutyRon, doesn't it appear that maybe this guy had somebody with him?" The way he looked at his left there, like, "Hey, let's go."
No. Bobby Chacon, you see anything in the video of significance?
Well, I mean, just that young man that you're highlighting there, he could have been walking to his car that was, to the right, and they crossed the street to the left. Like you said, you really want to know how they got home. He puts his hand up like, "Oh, there they go," and so and he immediately leaves. I mean, you could tell. That's what really concerned me: the immediacy of him leaving. They're all hanging around. Nothing's urgent, and then all of a sudden, as soon as the two girls leave, he leaves.
Yeah,
that really stuck out to me.
Yep.
I think that's someone they would like to speak to. Let's take a listen to more of the chief here, referencing the roommates in the house.
Just to follow up on what she asked, so the other two roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information we have from our investigation is that, yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So
I want to say this. They did speak to the hoodie guy, and they said he's cleared. Police said that. But also, remember, the police told the community that there's no further danger. Remember in the date? Anybody remember that? I mean, and the mayor of Moscow, he also said there's no further danger to the community. This seems to have been a targeted attack. There's no serial killer, or there's no danger. So it's coming from the same place. And listen, I'm just saying that, this video to an investigator is troubling. And if they questioned him and cleared him, the heavier set guy that was talking to him and engaging most with him, he was there for a while before they came on the set. So I don't think that they're friends, but I'll say that they did make casual conversation. And that heavier set guy in the jacket with the hat that got food, he said he tried to call the police and they didn't answer him. They didn't call him back. I'm referring to this guy right here. Where is he? This guy. Big man. He's like me. He's a big dude. He said he called the police to tell them about his conversation probably with this guy walking off. And they didn't call him back. He had to personally go to the police station to give his statement. I don't know. Bill Cannon said it well. My good friend, retired homicide detective Sergeant Bill Cannon, said 25 investigators in the beginning of this is not enough to handle the amounts of interviews and canvasses that you have to do. Good detective work in homicide cases happens from gumshoes. That's the detectives pounding the pavement and getting their feet on the ground and going door to door, house to house, place to place, person to person, interview to interview. And if these kids all have left in fear, if they went back to New York or New Jersey or Utah or Texas or wherever they come from, you got to get guys and girls to go and interview them right away. This is 7 days later. The first 48 hours is important, but without an army of investigators, what can you do in 48 hours? You can't do much. Go look at the Moscow Police Department. Go look at the surrounding police departments. Their personnel are very thin. Small town. There's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of small town Americas, but when you have a quadruple homicide, quadruple murder happen, it's time to throw that flag and say, I need help. Get the state police, which they did. Get the feds in there. Get and accept any help from any law enforcement, because you need to have, when this guy calls you, you need somebody who's of a competent authority, because this guy conversed with this guy quite a bit. And if I was investigating this case, would want to know what the hell they said. What did that guy say to you? What did you say back to him? And so forth. Who wants to see the 10 minutes of this whole? I have the 10 minutes. The problem is it's split into 4 screens. If you guys want to see it, I'll play it. If you don't want to see it, Josh, my good friend and producer, he uploaded the whole thing without commercials of exactly when they first came up right to the end. It's 10 minutes. I'll let the chat decide. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to see the full 10 minutes. Put a 2 if you don't and you saw it already. I'll do it based on majority here.
The immediacy of it leaving, they're all hanging around, nothing's urgent, and then all of a sudden, as soon as the 2 girls leave, he leaves. That really stuck out to me.
Maybe they weren't home.
The investigation at this point.
Joseph Scott Morgan, let's talk about the roommates. Maybe they weren't home, and then they came home at noon. Always possible. But if they're in that house and there's 4 people being stabbed to death, it didn't look like a mansion to me. Do you think they would hear something, or could you sleep through it if you're maybe under the influence of alcohol? I don't know. What are you thinking when you hear that there were 2 other roommates in the house?
I have 26-year-old and an almost 30-year-old. When they were in college, on some Sunday mornings, even some Saturday mornings, they wouldn't get up until afternoon, after 12. And a bomb could go off in my house. I could be playing Christmas music, or, Thanksgiving morning, Thanksgiving Eve, everybody goes out and parties when you're younger. And even sometimes when you're older, you get together with your friends. But I remember even myself at that age, when I was living at home, that my grandmother and my mom would be, cooking Sunday meals, making the sauce, making the gravy, however you want to say it. And me sleeping through it. And I'd wake up to the smell of that at 12, 1 o'clock, sometimes 2 o'clock. So it's not out of the norm. My son, a bomb can go off in the house and he would not get up. All right. It looks like everybody wants to see it. Let's play it and then I'll wrap it up. I don't like to go over an hour, and we're close to an hour right now. I want to show you also this photo. Did anybody see this photo? This is from the outside of the house. The coroner and all of the medical staff, and the crime scene has been, it's been said at the crime scene that it was a very bloody scene. Did anybody see this photograph? It was in the New York Post. I don't know. I got to ask Ed tonight if this was in fact blood, but this is coming off the foundation of the house. And my God, if that in fact dripped from one of the bedrooms down that foundation, that is a clear indicator of how horrific of a crime scene. Those men and women who came into that home, and those police that initially responded, and the person or persons that came upon this outside of the law enforcement realm are going to have lifelong PTSD behind that. I'll show it again. All right, let me set this up for you. I'll show you where that comes from so you guys can see it. It's from the New York Post. This is where I got it from. So they have like collage of stuff, but down, if you scroll down, there it is. And this is a photograph from outside the house, courtesy of James Caveman. I know I probably said his name wrong, but these girls were beautiful, and they definitely posted all over social media. And these are boyfriend and girlfriend. That's Xana and Ethan. He was one of triplets, I believe. It's just so devastating. All these families are just heartbreaking. The whole thing is heartbreaking. And we're going to get into the forensic side tonight with Ed Wallace, 9 p.m. So make sure you put your notification on. All right, here it is. And I'm going to play this again probably tonight. But I'll play this. This is going to be 10 minutes long. Let me know what you think. And you'll see them enter up on the top here, on the top left and right. I wanted him to edit out these two, but I also did want to give credit to the Grub Trucker on Twitch. So let's play it. And this is going to have audio as well. Thank God he had this video set up. You see Big Man is at the window ordering right before they come up. So here we go.
Thank you, brother. Give me another tip.
Thank you. Fucking thank you, man. 4-76.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What are your first 4 max?
Can I get the basil pesto?
All
Yeah,
5
definitely.
cheeses?
One basil pesto.
Pay attention to the upper left
How's your
here.
night going?
Good. How's your night going?
It's going extremely well.
Upper left
Cannot
screen.
complain. I was able to sit down,
15s.
so.
And then they'll come to me.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
But, like, I hate dealing with fucking people, so.
Oh, it's pretty fun,
I hope
honestly.
people have been nice.
Very, very rarely are they not, and then somebody in their group is usually apologizing for
They're going to
them.
all come up now.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't make up for it, but, like.
No, it's amusing though. It's fun to watch other people be
Right,
miserable.
yeah.
Have a good night. Hello.
He came up with them.
Thanks. I think I would like the
Okay.
I'm not going to stop it again, but I want to point out that out of both the girls, the young lady with the black jacket, which is oversized, is definitely uneasy on her feet. She's not stable in her walking. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but it's worth pointing out that she, out of both of them, looks to be the most inebriated. You could see her stumbling a few times on this video. It was actually hard to watch in the beginning, but I'll let it play.
Can I have like a free grub truck on my like app?
Oh, yep. So what you want to do is we'll actually do this. There you go.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
How many more do you need? That's the second one? Awesome.
You could see her there stumbling.
Maybe I
Here.
didn't have a free one.
It's right here.
And then what was the next?
Don't forget to remove the
The
spoon.
carbonara.
The carbonara Mac of the week.
Here, I'll grab it for you.
Excellent. And then click see rewards.
Enjoy.
And it looks like you've not quite have enough points yet.
Oh, that's okay. That's good.
$10 for you.
Perfect.
Everybody here needs to be interviewed. Everybody.
Thank you.
I do have a big burrito pork here for you.
Cool. Thank you.
478. Thank you very much. Where'd the pen go?
And I would want to
Where's
see
my pen?
every
How are
time
you guys
that
doing?
they've come here
Everyone's
if that guy
fantastic.
was following them. I want to see
That's fine. What can I get for you?
their previous times there.
Definitely.
Thank you.
They frequented, and most of the college kids frequent this truck, this grub trucker, you know, this food spot. I'd want to see, as an investigator, every time that they went there, has this guy been following them for a while? I want to see that. I'm interviewing everybody. Absolutely, Farm All Fanatic. Boom. Welcome in. Thank you for joining. Everybody gets interviewed. Everybody. Multiple times, if need be.
Pork tacos. Oh yeah. How many pork tacos would you like? Well, you know what? Just come with one. It's one, but they're like 6 to 7 ounce tacos. They're not like small little street tacos. I normally eat 2, 3 is a lot for me.
So one would be fine if I was getting pasta or
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be almost 2 pounds of food.
I better get 2.
Okay, you got it.
I got
2 pork tacos? Done. 1 5 cheese, 1 basil fat.
Apple pie, that is very, very valid. What about the corner bar? They were there since 10. Absolutely. And I'm also questioning everybody where the other two, the couple, went, where Ethan and Xana went. Everybody at that location. Where did they go in between the times when they were there from 9 to 10? Where were they for the rest of the night? Where did they go? All of that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Pretty good about yourself. I'm doing extremely well. What sounds good? Can I get a big burrito? Yeah.
So now you see Hoodie Guy back here, and I've got my cursor up. Let me just take that comment off. Thank you for your comment. Hoodie Guy proceeds over to here where the girls are, and he's watching them, but he also talked with the guy with the number 8 jersey and the hoodie on. And he engages with a few people. But Big Man here is with this group waiting for his food.
For the big burrito, would you like?
So I muted the sound. The Big Man's talking to everybody, but this guy here is looking around now. He's keeping a close eye on these girls. He got no food. I don't know. I'm interviewing and interrogating this guy. I'm not just interviewing him. I'm interrogating him. I don't know. Let me know in the chat. You never see him touch the girls. You never see him. They don't hug him. It's really weird. This interaction and this engagement is definitely off-putting to me.
$90 for you.
I know I have a $6 waiting for me. Would like to just.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
So,
Let's see rewards.
Fuck, I just hit your jacket. Sorry, man.
yeah.
$13. Hell yeah.
Worth it.
Oh, always.
So now she's going to her phone here and doing some stuff. And that's the closest that he gets right here to her. And now he's talking extensively with Big Man. And she's doing something on her phone, whether she's ordering an Uber or she's texting. Everything that's on that phone is definitely going to be reviewed. And obviously they're going to get it all, these devices. You know, nobody questioned them about the devices. Did the perpetrator or perpetrators take their devices? Are those devices in custody? I may not be on to that because I didn't hear anybody speak about that. But correct me in the chat if they have them. I hope they do. I want to think that they do have that they have the cells devices.
Taco and 3 5 cheese mac and cheeses.
Yes.
Okay. $27.75.
Hey.
How many apples in the Mac of the week?
Yeah, somebody in the chat said LE said they cleared hoodie guy, but law enforcement, the Finn said that, but law enforcement told the community that it was safe. Think about it.
We already got it by cheese.
Wait, you got one?
Yeah, the huge jacket was something that I looked at. Like, whose is that? That's not the guy with the hoodie. That's malingering around and watching them very closely. That's somebody else's, maybe from the club that she took. That's not her jacket. That's definitely not her jacket. Was that jacket recovered? But again, DNA from this guy, critical. And it's not unreasonable to request it. And just to see if he was, hold on a second. Hold on. I personally, hold on. I want to get myself on here. I personally would say to him, to hoodie guy, give me your DNA. And if based on his reaction, if he was like, oh, hell no, I'm not giving you my DNA. Or maybe he said, yeah, here, take it. If he says, here, take it, now we can completely eliminate him because of the amount of blood, the amount of saliva, the amount of sweat that it would have taken to do what was done. There is Ed Wall. Listen, 9:00 tonight. You're not going to want to miss the show. 9:00 Eastern Standard Time. Ed Wallace and I are going to break down. He's a crime scene unit expert. He is a DNA expert. He's back on U.S. soil. He was in Africa teaching with the Department of Defense, and he is going to go over all the DNA tonight. I'm also going to ask him, Ed, what would you have done on this crime scene if it was your crime scene? What would you have done? And so we're going to hear everything that would have been done if an NYPD crime scene unit detective responded to this scene. Kiwi, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you. Is this the video from the taco truck? Yes, Polka Dots. I'm going to play it in its entirety tonight. So make sure you tune in tonight. And everybody, you're going to be at the end of this live, which is almost done right now. At the end of this live, we are going to be directed to tonight's live stream. So it's at 9:00. So it's way in advance, but make sure you go when you get redirected to it and hit the notification bell. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe. Mary, good to see you down in Florida. Thank you for watching now and at 9:00. Mary is a great friend. She was on YouTube at one point doing great videos, and then she stopped. She moved to Florida from out in Rocky Point or Sound Beach, and now she's down in Florida. So, hi, Mary. Thank you for being here.
Never used like a phone NFC pay. I guess unless you count the tap on the card.
All right, so hoodie guy is right
Never
here.
used my phone
Still
until at like a store.
hoodie guy is right there talking to big man, and here comes the food, and here they go. So at that point, it looks like she turns around and says something to the guy. Look at this. When she gets this is the guy handing the food. Can you guys see my cursor? I know it's small, but this is the other window where the food comes out. They order on this end, back up over here, and then the food comes out this side. He's handing the thing. When she turns, and he has his back to her, but I think she says something to him.
Derek.
Right? Like right there, she's facing him.
It's because I try not
Maybe
to.
not.
It's a good reason.
She's leaning up against the truck, and now this is when they leave.
That's smart, Derek. It's probably good to not lose your wallet. Guys, fuck yeah, great ticket times, honestly. Like, Luke, Tebow, really solid.
She just smashed her hands down on the thing. I thought that was when she took her food, but it wasn't. But it's coming up. It's coming up here. See, he's pointing at her and talking. This is the very limited engagement that they had, folks. he was just pointing his finger at her and talking to her.
Love it. Very
So,
pleased.
Joe,
All
how
right,
close are
we're
we
back
to
in.
you sitting down on Friday nights?
I mean, that was a solid rush. It's a good thing that it ended, but
She's talking to Big Man there. I just muted the sound. Yeah, I would love to know what he said to him. I mean, as an investigator, I would not want to know now as a YouTube. I would not put out what, you know what I mean? Like, I'd never have a conversation with this guy. This is for the investigators. As we spoke about in all these previous cases, nobody should be interviewing any of these people other than the FBI and the locals that are doing the job. Liza Lindmark says they arrived together from the bar, probably met there, went for food, decided to ditch him, and then left. He didn't like that. And that's a possibility. Yes. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Wow. I was way off. I thought that they were going now.
hell yeah. All right, what did I miss? Reduce, reuse, lol. Yeah, fuck yeah.
That gets on my nerves. And then, like, they want their numbers to be called. Okay.
Are you knowing that US super popular? No. Tomahawks, what's the side for? Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing extremely well. What sounds good?
Get the death by garlic and add chicken to it.
Yeah, definitely. Death by garlic. We'll add chicken to it. Anything else for you?
And then can I do the 5 cheese?
And 5 cheese?
Yes. And can I add chicken to that?
There we go.
Of course. We're doing death by garlic with chicken, 5 cheese with chicken. Anything else? Love it. $23. Do you guys have any NFC go Ben? Any whatever sort of payment you have on your phone, we can take.
She's probably posting. She just took a photo of her at the counter, and she probably took a photo and posted it. I think that's what she's doing there.
And you have to like scan a thing. We don't have any sort of QR crap.
She's
How are you
laughing.
doing?
Sorry, good.
Oh, no.
The sad part about all this is their last moments. This is the last video that at least we know of at this time of them. I don't know if any additional will resurface, but this is basically it. This is it now, where they leave.
Order 85. Thank you.
Can I do the big burrito? But I would really quickly some cheese sauce.
And he's like, I'm out of here. I wonder if Big Man was able to hear what was said, and it looked like they kind of ran off into the street. Unbelievable. Very sad situation all around. 4 lives lost to violence, terrible. I want to just take a time to say thank you to everyone who watches the replay. Let me know down below in the comment section. Tonight's show is going to be all about crime scene investigation and forensics with a retired New York City crime scene unit investigator, my co-host Ed Wallace, who has extensive experience in DNA. He's going to talk about blood. We're going to talk about serology. We're going to talk about everything crime scene unit related. Thank you, Tony, for the super love. That's Tony D from EchoSearch Midwest. Thank you, Tony. Part of the drone team. Lost is not alone. Thank you, Tony, my brother. So we're going to be linked over to tonight's video. It's going to segue you from this to tonight's show. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you can. Set the reminder and subscribe. I'm asking those are 3 things I'm asking you guys to do. Set the reminder, hit the thumbs up, and subscribe to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Again, thank you to the moderators. Thank you to everybody in the chat. This is an ongoing active investigation. We are coming into 7 days later. After tonight at 3 a.m., between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m., is going to be a full 7 days since this crime has taken place. As I always say, I have to send my strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the victims' families. These young victims had a whole life ahead of them, as do all victims of crime who have their lives cut short by perpetrator or perpetrators. And we don't know if it was one or more active people involved in this, whether male or female. So thank you so much to everyone who joined. I look forward to seeing you tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. But especially these 4 victims and their extended family, the complete and total body at the University of Idaho, the law enforcement, the first responders, everyone affected by this. We send you strength, prayers, and positive vibes. Take care from Crime Time with DutyRon. Thanks for watching. See you next time.